Hello everyone. So in this lectures, we will learn how to start a GraphQL's applications with a Spring Boot. So let's start. So you need to first steps you need to navigate to this URL. So this is the best way for creating a Spring Boot applications. So once you open this, after that you need to select the Gradle. So we will going to use this Gradle's Kotlins, and inside the language we will going to use the Kotlin. So if you are completely new for the Kotlins and you just know the Java, then no need to be very as we write the Kotlin. So I will going to explain each and everything to you. So after that we will going to use this is the version. So as of now I am recording this video, this is the latest. So at your time whatever version is available, so you can just freely select that version. So inside the group, so let's write this com.learn. Keep this as a demo, so no worry. So here we will going to use this Java 17. So inside dependency, so first dependency we need to add the Spring Web. So after that we need the second dependency, this Spring for GraphQL. So these two dependency we only need. So after that we need to click on this generate. So this will going to generate these folders, and after that you need to just unzip these folders and open this in IntelliJ. Once you open these folders in IntelliJ, so it will going to take some times for downloading all the dependencies. So we just need to wait to we finish this. So let's wait for this. Okay, so it's completed. So first steps we need to do for GraphQL. So inside the resources, so let's create a new folders and name this as GraphQL. Inside this GraphQL, we need to create a schema file. So let's select this and name this as schemas.graphqls. And please make sure name extension should be this .graphqls, right? So once we add this file, so after that, let's install this also GraphQL plugin. Okay. So once we create this file, so after that inside property file, so we need to define the path for this schema. So here we can define like GraphQL's schema. So let's find out this GraphQL path for schema. So default path is this GraphQL. So in case if you want to create a different directory with a different names, you can do that. So you just need to configure that path from here. So this is the property corresponding to that. So once we create this GraphQL schema, so after that we can define the queries and mutations. So it's a very easy for defining the query. So just think like that. If you are completely new for the GraphQL, so in GraphQL we have a concept for the type. So when we want to define a query, so here we have a three things: query, mutations, and subscriptions. So just think like that. When we are asking the data from the servers, so in that case we will going to define the query. So if you are coming from the HTTP site, so in HTTP services, just think like that. When we need the data, so we usually issue the get request. So our get request always retrieve the data. So corresponding to the get request, we have something query. So query is the more powerful. So whatever we need the data, we can define the schemas, and this is type the structures of our data we need, and server will going to resolve that. So whenever we need the data, we will going to query, and when we want to change the resource state from the backend side, at that time we will going to use the mutations. Okay. And subscriptions, you can use this, you can just map your thinking with web circuits and socket things. So let's start from the query. So this is the query type. So type query, this is how we will going to define the query. So once we define this query, so inside this query we can define our all the queries. So just think like this, we just wants to define one query get posts. Okay. So this will be our query. When we invoke this query, so we will not going to receive anything. When we invoke this, we will not going to pass anything like page and limits and this type of a things. We just wants ki when we call this, whatever's record we have, just return all the records, right? So here we will going to when we going to call this, we will going to return the array of a post. So how we will going to define the post? So this is the syntax for the array. So inside this we will need to define the type. So this is the type. So what does it mean? So it's a array of a post. Okay. So when we want to define like when we call this get post, so it will always going to return the post. Okay, if there is a no post, then it will going to return the empty array, but it will not never going to return the null. So for making this non-nullable, we can use this exclamation mark. So when we have this exclamation mark, it means this field is non-nullable. Okay, we will never going to return null corresponding to this, right? So here we just define the post. So now we need to define the structure of the post. So here we can use type again, and we can define post. So inside this post we can define all the fields. So first field, let's we define, we wants to define id. So we can define like this id, and this id will going to be non-nullables. For non-nullables we need to use exclamation mark. Okay, so when we add this exclamation mark, it means this id is a non-nullable. If we don't add this exclamation mark, it means this id is a nullable fields. Okay, so after the names, let's define title. So this title is the type of a string. So here we can define strings, and this is again non-nullables like this. And after that we have a description, and like this we can define the description can be nullables, then we can keep this as it is. So if we see the structure of a post, so here what we have defined, id, which is a non-nullables, and this is the predefined types, id, strings, booleans, and likewise. Okay, so this title is a non-nullable, description is a nullables, right? And this is the structures of a post. So here we have defined ki we have some resource corresponding to post, and this is the structures. Okay, and corresponding to post we have defined one query only, get post. When users need a post, just issue this query, we will going to return all the post. Okay, so this is all we have defined schema. So how we will going to return the data when this post will going to be invoked? Okay, corresponding to this, now we have another concepts like a resolvers. So we have a three type of a resolvers: query resolvers. So query resolvers resolve the queries, and likewise we have a mutations resolvers. Mutations resolver resolve the mutations, and we have another resolver like a field resolvers also. So we will see everything's in features. So for now, let's move your focus to this get post query. So inside this demo, let's create another package. So name this as a query. So inside this query we will going to define one Kotlin file. So name this as a post query, or maybe we can keep this as a post resolver. Okay, so inside post resolver we will going to define all type of resolver: query resolver, post resolvers, and field resolvers, which is related to the post. Okay, so let's add this class. So once we add this class, so after that what we need to do, after that we need to annotate this class with a controllers. So let's add this controller. So after that, inside this, so let's define functions fun. Okay, so here if you see, we name this query as a get post. So let's copy this. So let's define here one function with the same names. Please make sure the names should be same, right? So here we have defined query get post. So inside here we need to define a one function with the same name. So this functions will going to receive nothing. Okay, so from this functions we will going to return the post. So here, okay, so here we need to define the post. So here we will going to return the post. So let's define list of a post. Okay, post maybe detail. So let's define here data class post dto. So this post dto will going to contains id, titles, and descriptions. Okay, so here id, which is type of a uuid, and after that we have titles. Okay, which is again a type of a strings, and after that we have a description, which is again a type of a strings and nullibles. Okay, this is all we need to define for post. And you can map this data class from if you are completely new for the Kotlin, so it just like records. Okay, in a Java we have a record, so records is completely inspired by these data classes we have in a Kotlin. Similar kind of a things we have in a Scala, so that records is completely inspired by these things. Okay, so for now just move your focus here. So we define a get post one functions which will going to return the list of a post. Okay, so here if we see, so this is this functions will going, this query will going to return the list of a post. So we are just matching this structures, this declaration from this query, right? And from here we can returns the post. So here the flow will going to be similar. uh, we can call the services will going to call the repository, and we will going to fetch the post from the database, and here we will just going to return the post. So let's prepare this post. Okay, so here we have defined one post. So let's see. So now if we see, these functions will going to satisfy this query, right? So we just need to map this query from this function. So for mappings we have a annotation. So here we have a query annotation, so we need to map these functions with a query annotation. So after that query annotations will go behind the scenes, Spring will going to all the magic. So Spring will going to map these functions from this query. Okay, so when user will going to issue this query, so this function, this functions will going to act as a query resolver. So this functions will get invoked, and this function will going to do the rest of the things. So now let's run our applications and let's see. Okay, so one more things also before starting. So I just forgot. So inside applications properties, so we have another properties graph IQLs enable. So by default it's a false. So we need to enable this so that we have a GraphQL's playground. So where we can issue these queries and we can see the result. So after enabling this, so let's start the applications again. So once you start the application, so after that you need to open this URL. So here if you see, so you need to navigate from this navigate to this paths only, 80 localhost colon 8080 slash graph IQL. So once you enter this, so it will going to pick the same endpoints where we have defined slash GraphQL. So once you open this, and after that if you see here, okay, it's, yeah. So here if you click on this, so here we can see the documentation. So if you see in the root tab, so we have queries. So when we click on this query, so if you see here we have only one query, get post. So when we click on this post, so these are the data we are returning. So this is the documentations which we define, which we have defined inside our schema GraphQL. So now how we will going to query this get post. So this is how we need to define a query like this. Okay, so here we need to call this get post. So inside this get post, so just think like that, I am only interested in ID. Okay, so I just need to define ID. Okay, so after that we need to click on this execute query, so it will going to return the data. So if you see here, so this is the structures we will going to have. So we will going to have like a datas and errors. So when we going to call this GraphQL, so this is the contracts GraphQL going to provide. When we have the data always going to exist inside this fields. When we have the errors, so we will going to have another fields errors. So error going to exist and data will going to be null. Okay, So here, so just think like that, if I also wants to titles, so just think like that, we are preparing some applications, desktop applications, we need id and titles and descriptions, and in mobile application we just need the ids and titles. So based on the requirement, so users can define what type of data they need. They can define the structures. When they execute this query, they will going to get the data in the same structures. Okay, so I hope you like these things. So now next things ki how we will going to pass the data, how we will going to pass the some data from the front end side. So just think like that. So we just wants the one post and two post, something like that, right? So just think like that. So we will going to define another query, recent posts. Okay, so this recent post will going to accept this recent post, first things will going to accept like limit. Okay, and limit will going to be type of int, and this will going to be mandatory. So likewise, like this we can define, and after that this will going to accept the offset, and again this will going to be mandatory, and this is how we can enable this as a mandatory, and these things will going to return the post. Okay, and this post will this array will going to be like a non nullable. So if we don't have a post, so it will going to return the empty array, but it never going to return the null. Okay, so this is the new query we have defined. So this query will going to accept limits and offset. Okay, so we need a resolver to resolve this query. So first things, let's copy this get post. So here let's define another function, and the name of this functions will going to match with that query recent post. So this functions will going to receive the two arguments. So first is the int and limit, and second is also like int, and that is the offset. And this functions will also going to return the list of post dto. This is all. Sorry, I am kind of in a habit of writing the java. So in kotlin, so we need to define type after the variable's name, not before. Yeah, so here we have defined the recent post, so it will going to receive the limits and offsets. So here we have another annotations at the rate arguments. Okay, so we need to annotate this limits with this decorator arguments, and these things also with the offset, right? And again, this is the query mapping. So we need to annotate this with a query mapping. So from here we can return the data. So we will going to return the same things. Okay, so data, no need to move your focus on this data and how we will going to use. So this here I am just explaining you, this is how we will going to write the query resolver, this is how you will going to write the schema, this is how you will going to receive the data from the front end side, and after that story will going to be the same like we used to do in a rest worlds, right? Here just write second. Yeah, and after that let's start the application and let's see. So application is started. So now let's open. So now we just need to refresh this. So once we refresh this, right? So after that, if you see inside the documentation, inside the query, so we have another query get post, recent post. Okay. So now let's remove this from here. So we can call this recent post, and recent post will going to receive the limits, right? And here we need to define the limits. Limit is equals to like a 10, and after that we need to define a offset equals to like a 2, something like that, right? And here we need to need to define in which fields we are interested of post. So we are interested in id, we are interested in titles, and we are interested in description. So after that we just need to execute this query, and this is how we will going to get the data from our backends. So this is very simple. I hope you like this. This is how we can send the data to the backend side. So now let's come to this post. How we will going to create the mutations. So let's move to the next things, mutation. Let's stop the service. Yeah. So here, so we have another type like a query mutation. Okay. So inside the mutations, we can define all the mutations like we have defined all the query inside the query type. So here we have one mutation create post. So this mutations will going to receive some data from the front end side. First is the title, okay, which is again type of the strings, and this is non-nullable. And after that this mutations will going to receive the another data description, and this description is nullable fields. So for nullable we just need to define the strings, we don't need to add the exclamation mark. And once we receive this data, after that this mutations will going to return the id. Okay. Or maybe if we want to return the post, then we can return the post and non-nullable. Okay, we just need to exclamation mark. This will always going to return the post, never going to return the null and some things, right? And if you want to return the id, then here we can define like it will going to return the id like this, and it's non-nullable like this. Okay. So let's do one thing. We will going to return the post from here. Yeah. So now we need a mutations resolver to resolve this post. So let's copy the name. So let's move inside here and let's create another package mutation. So inside the mutations, let's create another class. So name this as a post resolver, or we can do one thing instead of these things now. Let's delete this. Yeah, and rename this as a resolver. Okay. So inside the post resolvers, now we can define our mutations resolver. So let's define a functions, name this function as a create post, and this functions will going to receive a title, which is again type of a string. And after that, it will going to receive a description. Okay. This is again the type of a strings, and it will going to be nullable. So like this, we can define the nullable in Kotlins. Okay. And when we don't set this question mark, it's a mandatory. If we add this question mark, so it will going to be nullable, right? So here we need to add arguments in a similar way. Here we need to add and similar way we have a mutation mapping. So we need to annotate these functions with a mutations mapping. So we will going to receive this data. So here we can return a, let's return a post. So return post dto, and here we will going to create a id, some random id, and after that title will going to be titles, and description will going to be description. Okay. Yeah. So here we have defined our mutations, create posts. So now let's start the application and let's see in action. So let's open this playgrounds and refresh this. Yeah. So after that, let's click on this. So if you see here, we have our mutations. Inside mutations, we have a create mutations, right? So let's remove this, and here we can define like a mutation. So inside the mutations, we have a create mutations. So here we can define like a titles. Titles will going to be first title, and after that we have a description. So here we can define some data, right? And once we define this mutation, so after that we need to define what type of here, if you see from this post, we will going to return the post. So here we can define our selections. Okay, once this post will going to be created, it will going to return the post in which fields we are interested. So we are interested in titles and this oh, and description. Okay, so this is how we will going to define. So now let's execute this, and if you see here, we will going to get the data. So this is the id we have created at the backend side. So this is the titles and this is the descriptions. So I hope you like this. So it's a very easy. So I really encourage you, please take a times and just explore this in further. Thank you.